Hey, what's up guys? Murali here. I hope you're all doing well. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my MCAT experience, how I studied for it, how the experience of actually taking the test was. I hope my experience helps you understand what the process is like and how to prepare, and hopefully it helps you on your MCAT journey. So if you guys are new to the channel, I'm an incoming medical student and I make videos about the medical school application process, and also I'll be making videos about the medical school experience while I'm in medical school. So if you want to see those videos, feel free to subscribe down below. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. So I took the MCAT in the January of my junior year. I believe that was 2019, January 2019. Yeah, I took the MCAT. I think I took it January 18th in the middle of that semester. That was a Friday. And so I actually had to miss school, miss a day of classes in order to go take the MCAT at, it was the testing site was in a mall near where I was, near my school. So I had to miss a day, go there and take it. And the reason I had to take it on a Friday, I would have liked to do it Saturday, but I had to take it Friday because I was late to sign up. So the way you sign up for the MCAT is, I believe that all the testing spots open up in the middle of October or something on, I think it was on a Thursday, but just at the very morning, in the morning of a day in October, I'm not sure on the specific date, the testing spot opens up and you can sign up for when you want to take the test. And I forgot to sign up first thing in the morning that day. And so when I got around to going and signing up, the only spots open near me were on that Friday instead of that Saturday. So it would have been nice to sign up for the Saturday, but all I got was the Friday. So I guess thing to remember is sign up as quickly as you can. And to take the test in January, February, or in the beginning of the year, those spots go out really quickly and people sign up for those very fast. So make sure to be proactive, be prompt, put a reminder in your calendar at the very early in the morning when you need to sign up, and do it as quickly as you can, just get it out of the way. So why did I take it in January of my junior year? A lot of my friends were actually taking it in the summer before junior year. So I think it would have been August 2018 or August before junior year. And I didn't feel as prepared as I think they were at that point, mainly because I was going to be doing an internship that summer. So I knew that I would have 8 hours of my day gone, and I didn't want to commit to taking the test. I wanted to make sure that I had enough time to prepare fully throughout the day and spend enough time as I needed to. And having that internship, I think, would have left me drained for studying, and I would not have been able to do all the practice tests and do all the content review that I wanted to do in time for a test in August. So I knew I wasn't ready. So instead I decided to take it in January. Also because I knew that in the junior fall semester I would be taking this class at school called cell biology, and I was hoping that that content would be useful for the MCAT. And I hadn't taken biochemistry by that point before my junior year, so I wanted to make sure that I spent enough time to go over that content and really flesh it out and really understand it all before I took the test. So for those reasons, I decided to not take it during the summer, but I felt that I would be able to prepare in time in order to take it in January of my junior year. Right, so I'm gonna go through now how I studied, all of my content review schedules, and how I prepared for the test. So I prepared in two sections. So I said that I wouldn't have had time to fully prepare for the MCAT during the summer before my junior year, but I did do content review during that summer. I did a lot of content review actually. And with that content review, I had two main goals. And the first goal was to really go through biochemistry and really understand that content as well as I could. And the second goal was just to go through everything else once, so at least I knew sort of what was going to be on the MCAT content-wise before I really started preparing and getting down to business. Right, so for the summer, I'll put up my schedule that I used here. In order to do content review, I purchased a set of MCAT study books. I got the Kaplan set here. It's a big one, very thick, but it comes in Kaplan isn't sponsoring this, by the way, or anything like that, but I thought these were pretty nice because they come in the unique, like, small subject books that you can take around, so you don't have to lug around all of this in order to just study one subject. So I thought that was pretty nice. And also the Kaplan stuff, it comes with these quick sheets that are really nice for just if you forget a sort of basic type of thing, chances are it'll be in here somewhere and you can just quickly go through this. I'd recommend getting the Kaplan set or the Princeton Review or anything like that. I'm sure they all work just as well as each other. So the way I studied during that summer was I first went through all of biochemistry. So there's 12 chapters in the Kaplan book for biochemistry. And so I first went through all those chapters, one chapter a day, just so I could make sure that I knew everything that was going on in that content. The reason I did one chapter a day was that was also when I was getting started with my internship and I was getting used to stuff and figuring out my schedule. So I wanted to make sure that I had enough time to really figure everything out before I really went into the MCAT study. And so once I did the MCAT review for biochemistry, I then started going through all the content, including biochemistry again. So I didn't just do biochemistry once, I did it 2 times within that summer, along with the other subjects. So I alternated which subjects I was doing. I believe I did 1 to 2 chapters a day, and I took Fridays off. So what I would do is I would go to work, do all my work, and then once I was done with work, I would do 1 to 2 chapters a day, and then that would be my content review and like work that I had to do for that day. I didn't really have to worry. This was actually really nice in terms of content review because I didn't have to worry about taking practice tests or doing any question banks or anything like that. And I didn't have a big deadline looming over me of like, oh, within 2 months I have to know all of this and take a test. So doing that content review early is not necessarily possible for everyone, but I really suggest starting as early as possible so that you can get to learning without the pressure of having to take the test. The test pressure will definitely make you more serious and start learning quicker and maybe even better, but being able to work and familiarize with the content without that pressure was pretty nice, and I liked that. After I went through all the content once during the summer, I went to school. I took cell biology, which had a lot of content that was pertinent for the MCAT, I think, in terms of certain cell pathways, certain proteins, and certain cell functions. So I thought cell biology was a useful class to take. Some people say that biochemistry is more important. Some people say cell bio is more important to take. They both sort of cover similar subjects, but biochemistry would be really useful for the cell reactions like glycolysis and certain metabolisms. So if you are struggling with memorizing those pathways, I'd suggest taking suggest taking biochemistry, but cell biology is also a useful class to take for the MCAT. And so in October, I signed up for the test, forgetting to do it in the morning, but then I signed up later that night and got my test date, so that was confirmed now. Yeah, and then I knew once exams were done and I was back home for winter break, I would have a month and a half to study for the MCAT fully and then take the test. So that's what the second part of my studying was. During that winter break, I had a month from, I believe it was December 9th to January 18th. So a bit over a month to study for the MCAT, and that's when I really got down to business and really did things. So the things I wanted to do during that month and a half was content review again, because it had been a full semester since I went through all the content. So content review, and then practice as much as I could. So practice tests and just question banks and practice banks. So the way I got the practice tests and question banks and those things, I took 8 practice tests total. And those were a combination of the official AAMC practice tests and Next Step practice tests. So Next Step is a third-party test service like Kaplan and Princeton Review. They make practice tests, and those tests I'd heard looking around were pretty good to take, that they were harder. Some of the tests were harder than the actual MCAT tests, but I heard that they were pretty reliable in terms of getting that practice. So I took 4 Next Step practice tests and 3 MCAT tests and 1 MCAT diagnostic test. So the first thing I did was take that diagnostic test just to know where I was in the ballpark of things, and I went through content review and moved on from there. Yeah, so the process that I went through during December, I would take my studying would go off a cycle of taking the practice tests. So I take a practice test on one day. That would be the entire day, just 7-8 hours of taking that practice test, and then I'd rest. And then the next few days would be going over that test and doing review of those questions that I got wrong. So for every question I got wrong, I would go through it and think, okay, what was I thinking when I answered this question? And how did that thinking lead me away from the right answer? And if it was just me not knowing the concept, I would go back to my Kaplan books, go back to the content review, and go through all of those sections that I messed up, and make sure I really understood what was going on. Yeah, and so that would be the days following, and then I would take another practice test, and that would be the cycle. Also, when I was reviewing the test and going over the stuff that I messed up, I was also doing another round of content review. So I'll put up my schedule that I had, but I was going through 4 sections of a book that time because I had less time. I didn't have 3 months, I only had 1 month. Yeah, I doubled my pace of going through content review. Because I'd already seen it before, I didn't need to go it wasn't like I was learning everything fresh. So I could go through it a lot quicker. And so I would take a test, then the next day I would go through the worst content on that test, and I would go through, say, biology chapters 1 through 4. And that's how I would proceed for the entirety of that content review section. And so that was when I was at home. Also, I would do the question banks that the AAMC has. So when you buy the test packet from the AAMC that they give you to study for the MCAT, they'll also give you question banks and section packs for different sections. It's just a bunch of questions, a lot of practice. I think that's really useful. That's honestly the most important thing you can do, more than content review, right? That active recall. Make sure you're actually practicing answering questions, getting yourself in that test mindset, and forcing yourself to recall information and answer questions as well as you can. Yeah, so during December, I went through that content review, did practice tests, reviewed content, and did question banks, around 30 questions a day. And then when I went back to college in January, classes had started, but I was still studying for the MCAT. I had around 2 to 3 weeks of studying left to do before the MCAT date. So I had to manage my schoolwork and also MCAT studying. Luckily, during those first few weeks, there wasn't much work to do for my classes other than maybe 1 or 2 homework assignments. So I just made sure that I got those homework assignments done as quickly as I could and submitted them early so that I could move on with my MCAT studying. When I went back to school in January, my content review was completely done. So I'd done all of that, and I was just doing practice questions in terms of practice tests. I'd done all the next step practice tests before this point, so now I was just doing the official AAMC practice tests, tests 1, 2, and 3, and I would go through the content that I messed up on there, and I would do a bunch of question banks and those question packs and make sure I'd done every single question that I could. I didn't want to leave any question unturned just because I wanted to make sure that I was practicing everything as I could. And during those practice tests, I was getting scores that I was happy with, and so I felt prepared to go into the test. And yeah, let's move on to the test date. All right, so the test date was on a Friday, and I stayed in a hotel the night before. So Thursday night, I went to the hotel, stayed there, and the test, I think I woke up around 6 or 6:30, and the hotel that I was staying in was literally a block away from the testing site. So I just walked to the testing site in the morning along the street. There wasn't really a sidewalk, but I just walked down the street to the testing site, and I just walked in. And you just stay there in the lobby until they bring you up, and then they check you in, make sure you have all your identification. And once they've checked you in, you're in a room with a bunch of seats and lockers, and you can put your stuff in the lockers. And I didn't realize that once you sign in and put your stuff in the lockers, you could just go into the testing room and get started. So I actually was sitting around for a bit, just waiting for them to call me and bring me into the testing room until I realized, oh, you could just go in and start. But that was fine. It was only like 10 or 15 minutes where I was settling myself, centering myself, and making sure I was in the right mindset to take that test. So yeah, so I didn't know that going in. I hope that doesn't catch you off guard when you take the test. But yeah, so you can just get started immediately. Yeah, so I went in. They're very strict in terms of security. I'd assume they're gonna be even stricter now with the coronavirus going around, making sure that there's distance between everyone, making sure you have a mask and all that stuff. But yeah, so I took the test. I felt about the same as I felt on my practice tests. Obviously there were some nerves going around, so you can't really trust that. But I've had a lot of experience taking standardized tests and I felt comfortable with it. So I went in and I felt that I did my best, at least. After I took the MCAT, I got my score in about a month later. Yeah, I got my score a month later. It was just released during the day. Like on Twitter, the official MCAT Twitter account said that scores for these dates have been sent out. And so I went and checked. So I ended up getting a 515 on the test. It's not an amazing score in terms, it's not 99th percentile or 520 plus, but I was happy with it. I felt that it was a score that was a bit lower than my practice test scores, but I felt that it was still okay for the schools that I was applying to. And I did end up getting into a school that I'm very happy to be at. So it all worked out for me. That's all the content that I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this video is useful for you and it'll help you prepare for your MCAT journey. Yeah, and if you liked this video, make sure to leave a like down below or comment. And if you want to see more videos like this about the med school application process or just about the med school journey in general, make sure to subscribe down below. All right, peace. See you in the next video.